Before you scroll, ask yourself, who do you trust unconditionally? Now imagine discovering those very people could be the architects of your deepest heartbreak. That's my story. A story I never imagined would become my reality, but one that could change everything you believe about love and betrayal. My name is Lewis Johnson, and outsiders see a billionaire insulated from pain. But no amount of dollars renders you immune from the devastation that comes when your own family wounds you. Let me pull back the curtain on the day that shattered my world. It all began with a grand plan for joy and ended in a nightmare that would forever haunt me. March 15th, Genevieve's birthday, was circled in red on my calendar for weeks. My entire focus became orchestrating a day overflowing with the love and significance she brought to our lives, both mine and my daughter Selma's. That morning, I did something that still stings. I lied to Genevieve. I told her my day would be consumed by endless meetings, unable to carve out a moment for celebration. Her barely concealed disappointment echoed in my mind all day. I heard it in every ring of the phone and every silence that followed. Subscribe and hit like. Our powerful stories add years to your life. Join our Story Lovers Club and let us know in the comments, where are you listening from? But through her sadness, I held on to certainty. This sorrow would become euphoria by nightfall. I had meticulously planned a symphony of surprises. A dazzling new Mercedes-Benz, adorned with a red bow, tickets for a once-in-a-lifetime getaway to the Maldives, and a reservation at the city's most sought-after restaurant. Every detail was engineered to sweep Genevieve off her feet. But before the celebration could begin, I needed my sister Brenda's help to get Genevieve out of the house. Brenda was more than just my sibling. She was my confidant, someone who pulled me through life's darkest chapters, and I relied on her now to play her part. Excitement pulsed through me as I approached our estate, imagining the look of joy I'd soon see on Genevieve's face. Just half an hour before, I'd called Brenda to check every arrangement. "Hey sis, I'm about 10 minutes away. Everything's prepared?" "Oh yes, Lewis," she replied, her tone bright and lively. "She's going to be utterly amazed." My mind was spinning with anticipation, rehearsing my apology for Genevieve, promising her my commitment despite all our recent turmoil, and hoping this day would be a turning point for us all. But as my car turned the final corner of the driveway, everything froze. My heart slammed to a stop, and my breath caught in my chest. 3 of my beloved family members, my 78-year-old mother Miriam, my only sister Brenda, and my 13-year-old daughter Selma, stood clustered together, heads down, all drenched in filthy, muddy water that clung to their once pristine white clothes. And there, looming over them, clutching an empty bucket with trembling hands, was Genevieve, the woman whose birthday I was about to make magical. In that instant, the world I knew dissolved, replaced by a horror I will never forget. Questions crashed through my mind like relentless waves. How could such a sight unfold on a day meant for celebration? Genevieve's fury radiated through every tense muscle, Her eyes bore into me, as if daring me to speak. My mother, Miriam, ever the epitome of elegance, looked utterly broken. Her trembling hands clutched at her ruins of a dress as she glanced away, humiliated and lost. Brenda's lip quivered, her usually steady demeanor shattered. Even Selma, my bright and vivacious daughter, hung her head in defeat, shoulders shaking as she stifled her tears. The silence was a punishing force, pressing against my chest until my heart screamed for answers. I tried to catch Genevieve's gaze, searching for some recognition, some trace of the woman I thought I knew. Instead, she met my eyes with burning resentment. The tension in the air was thick enough to choke me. Each step I took toward them was heavy, laced with dread. I called out my daughter's name softly, hoping to comfort her. She recoiled, pressing closer to Miriam and Brenda, unable to face me. A dull ache settled deep in my gut. It was a pain no money could erase, a sense of helplessness, as my family seemed to unravel before me, each of them receding into their own fortress of grief. Genevieve, what happened here? My voice was low, hoarse, a far cry from the confident tones I used in boardrooms and charity galas. She said nothing for a moment, her silence heavier than the storm clouds overhead. Then, with a voice cold and steady, she confessed to what she'd done. It wasn't about the birthday or a fleeting moment of rage. She accused Miriam, Brenda, and Selma of plotting against her, of undermining her happiness on a day that should have belonged to her alone. Her words landed like blows, splintering the fragile bonds holding our family together. Miriam began to sob, her age-worn face creased with agony. Brenda's eyes widened in horror, and Selma buried her face in Miriam's shoulder, longing to escape the nightmare. My mind raced, trying to separate truth from paranoia. Was this the woman I had shared years with, whose joy I hoped to amplify this very day? Or was she someone I never truly understood? Emotions crashed in me. Anger at Genevieve's cruelty, grief for my daughter's innocence lost, and the desperate longing to protect my mother and sister from the fallout of a moment's reckless fury. As the consequences of Genevieve's actions became clear, the birthday celebration was reduced to shreds. The car in the driveway, the sparkling tickets, the reservation, all seemed trivial in the face of our fractured family. I wanted to reach out and gather them all in a protective embrace, to shield them from the damage dealt in a single catastrophic outburst. Yet, I found myself paralyzed, unable to offer comfort when my heart was consumed by conflict. This was not just about one ruined day. The pain and betrayal would linger, shaping every future moment, every family gathering, every hope for reconciliation. After what felt like an eternity, trapped by shock and disbelief, I helped Miriam, Brenda, and Selma inside, bringing towels and warm tea, my hands shaking. Genevieve stayed outside, staring at the horizon, tears streaking her face. The house, usually filled with laughter, echoed with sobs and muffled voices. I knelt beside Selma, brushing mud from her hair, whispering promises of safety. But her eyes stayed hollow, her trust shaken. Brenda tried to comfort Miriam, but her own heartbreak shone through every gesture. I realized these small, tender acts couldn't undo the emotional harm sown in minutes. Reflection crashed over me. Had I been blind to the growing tension? The clues were there. Genevieve's sharp retorts at family dinners, Miriam's nervous glances, Brenda's attempts to smooth over conflict. In my pursuit of business and wealth, had I become deaf to the fears simmering beneath our home's surface? Guilt felt like lead in my bones. My resources had always been my shield, yet in that moment, they failed me utterly. In their place, only raw vulnerability, and the realization that material gifts couldn't mend wounds inflicted by trust betrayed. That night, as the sun dipped into darkness, I sat with my memories of happier times, Selma's laughter echoing through the halls, Genevieve dancing with Miriam at Christmas, Brenda's storytelling under the old oak tree. Each memory felt fragile now, as if one harsh wind could scatter them forever. I wandered the empty hallways, searching for a way forward. There was no guidebook for repairing a heart broken so publicly, so intimately. I tried to muster the hope that forgiveness might be possible, but the path looked endless and steep. Later, Genevieve approached. Her anger softened into remorse, but her words fumbled in the air between us. I was overwhelmed, she whispered, barely audible. I felt cornered. All the good intentions suffocated me. I listened, torn between fury and sympathy, knowing pain can twist a person into someone unrecognizable. The moment carried shadows of betrayal, but also the flicker of possibility. Could facing our worst selves in the open lead us somehow to redemption? The answer eluded me, trembling in the space where trust used to be. As midnight approached, I sat outside beneath silent stars. My family's pain pressed against every beat of my heart. Genevieve's words haunted me. What lesson hid inside this disaster? That love, without honest communication, decays into suspicion? That no grand gesture can substitute for everyday kindness? In the silence, I vowed not to let wealth wall me off from my loved ones. Tomorrow, we would begin again, not with cars or tickets, but with apologies and listening. Healing would be messy and imperfect, but our survival depended on facing it together. Dawn filtered through the curtain. Miriam was already in the kitchen, hands wrapped around a mug, her eyes swollen but resolute. Brenda hovered by the window, her jaw set, guarding Selma as fiercely as ever. There was no trace of last night's birthday sparkle, only the somber resolve to address what had broken between us. I knew the task ahead would be painful, opening wounds further in order to clean them, risking rejection in the hope of real repair. Before anyone could retreat into silence, I gathered my courage and sat at the edge of the breakfast table. "I'm sorry," I began, voice trembling. "For being blind, for not seeing what any of you put up with, for thinking good intentions and gifts could ever replace understanding." Each apology fell into the quiet, not quite an answer, but not dismissed either. Miriam braved a small nod. Brenda's arms tightened protectively around Selma. Genevieve entered last, hesitating at the threshold, a silent question in her gaze. Genevieve's apology, when it finally came, was awkward and halting. She didn't try to excuse her outburst, but confessed to jealousy. Miriam blinked back tears, admitting her fear of becoming irrelevant. Brenda revealed how her constant efforts to keep the peace often meant forgetting her own needs and feelings. For the first time, everyone spoke honestly about their vulnerabilities, shedding the masks of care and irritation that had hidden them for so long. In the atmosphere of sincere confession and tentative acceptance, a fragile sense of hope emerged. No one pretended that forgiveness would happen overnight or that the deep wounds would quickly heal. Yet for the first time in a long while, conversation, sometimes stilted and painful, but honest, flowed between us. Selma, quiet and withdrawn, listened closely to the adults, searching for comfort in their words. Her small hand squeezed mine under the table, and when I squeezed back, she managed a faint smile. In that moment, I realized that true healing comes through everyday acts of kindness, not grand gestures. That evening, we ate together without ceremony. The meal was simple: leftover birthday food and reheated soup. But it felt profound, a communal step away from the chaos. Silences lingered, but so did a new resolve to try again. I watched faces slowly soften, a fragile bridge of trust forming between us. Genevieve caught my eye, and for the first time in days, I saw not only her remorse, but her hope for forgiveness, a belief that perhaps in time, our family could survive its imperfection and together become whole once more.